Reconciling with your offenders, a spiritual medicine. There are wounds that time does not heal. Some injuries settle deep into the soul. The betrayal. The humiliation. The abandonment. The lies. The people who broke your trust and walked away like nothing happened. And if we are honest, sometimes the pain becomes part of our identity. But what if reconciliation is not weakness? What if forgiveness is not surrender? What if reconciling with your offenders is actually spiritual medicine for your own healing? Today, we are talking about one of the hardest journeys a human being can take, releasing bitterness and making peace with those who hurt us. Not because they deserve it, but because your soul deserves freedom. Many people think unforgiveness punishes the offender. But most times, it punishes the wounded person more. Bitterness is heavy. It steals sleep. It poisons joy. It turns every memory into a battlefield. You may smile in public and still carry private wars in your spirit. Some people offended you years ago, yet they still live rent-free in your emotions. Every time their name is mentioned, your peace disappears. That is not freedom. And spiritual healing cannot fully happen in a heart chained to resentment. The truth is this. Pain that is not healed becomes pain that is transferred. The unloved become cold. The betrayed become suspicious. The rejected begin rejecting others. And suddenly, the wound someone gave you starts shaping the person you become. But healing begins the moment you decide. I will not allow what hurt me to define me. That decision changes everything. Reconciliation is not always reunion. Now let's be clear. Reconciling with your offenders does not always mean returning to toxic relationships. It does not mean pretending the pain never happened. It does not mean allowing abuse, manipulation, or repeated disrespect. Spiritual wisdom is not foolishness. Sometimes reconciliation means releasing hatred. Yes. Sometimes reconciliation means releasing hatred without reopening dangerous doors. You can forgive someone and still establish boundaries. You can pray for someone and still protect your peace. True reconciliation begins internally before it ever becomes external. It is the healing of your spirit. It is the moment anger no longer controls your heart. It is when revenge stops feeling necessary. Because revenge keeps you emotionally tied to the very thing you are trying to escape. But healing unties the knot. And when your spirit is no longer thirsty for retaliation, you begin to experience divine peace. Why forgiveness is spiritual medicine. Every spiritual tradition teaches some form of mercy because mercy heals the human soul. Forgiveness is medicine because it removes poison from the heart. Think about this. A wounded spirit cannot fully hear the voice of peace. Anger creates noise inside the soul. But forgiveness creates space. Space for clarity. Space for joy. Space for purpose. Space for God. Some people are waiting for their offenders to apologize before they heal. But what if the apology never comes? Will your life remain imprisoned forever? Your healing cannot depend on another person's maturity. Sometimes the offender may never understand the damage they caused. Sometimes they may never say sorry. Sometimes they may even justify what they did. Yet you still have the power to free your own spirit. And freedom begins when you stop carrying emotional corpses into your future. Forgiveness says, I release the burden. I surrender the bitterness. I choose peace over poison. And that choice is powerful. Not easy, but powerful. Because every act of forgiveness rebuilds the soul from the inside out. The courage to reconcile. It takes strength to fight. But sometimes it takes even greater strength to make peace. The ego says, make them suffer. The wounded heart says, never trust again. But the healed spirit says, I will not become what hurt me. That is maturity. That is spiritual elevation. Some of the strongest people in the world are not those who conquered others, but those who conquered bitterness. And reconciliation often begins with compassion. Not excusing evil, but understanding human brokenness. Hurt people hurt people. Many offenders are carrying wounds of their own. Some learned cruelty from cruelty. Some learned abandonment from abandonment. Again, this does not justify the pain they caused. But understanding this helps you release hatred. Because hatred keeps wounds alive. Compassion begins healing them. Set your soul free. Today, someone may still owe you an apology. Someone may still owe you honesty, respect, justice, closure. But do not allow what they owe you to bankrupt your peace. Your spirit is too precious to remain trapped in yesterday's pain. Reconciliation is spiritual medicine because it restores life to the soul. It teaches us that healing is greater than revenge. Peace is greater than pride. Freedom is greater than bitterness. And sometimes the greatest miracle is not changing another person, but allowing God to change your heart. So tonight, release the anger little by little. Pray if you need to. Cry if you need to. Reflect if you need to. But do not stay imprisoned. Choose healing. Choose peace. Choose freedom. Because the moment you stop feeding resentment, your soul finally begins to breathe again.